Nicky D.
Came into like the pod, and I call him Nicky D. I was like, "Hey, Nicky D,"
Nicky D.
and we called him Mr. Rico Suave, and he loved it. He thought that was the best.
All right, that's Nicky D, and that's Nicky D's mum, and that's Hannah there for you guys. All right, cool. So I want to get your perspective. A question here for Hannah and Nicky D situation. They had a debate. Oh, sorry, they had a conversation which we had a debate over, and the conversation was around the area of financial literacy. Okay, we found out that he cannot. No, sorry. We found out that he does not pay his bills, whereas Hannah kind of, is very independent. And they had a conversation about it. She talked about stocks. They didn't know what stocks was. But I'm going to change the question slightly. Here's my question to you. Is there anything wrong with Nicky D being in a position where he doesn't necessarily pay some of those bills, or not even know some of the bills that he pays, that his parents pay? Is anything wrong, or are we viewing this situation through a lens of the fact that none of our mamas and dadas are paying for your bills up until this point? You don't have the luxury, you don't have the family for it, you know what I'm saying, to pay your bills up until this point, you know what I'm saying, because the royal family, they don't have this problem. Just saying that, you know what I mean? We still paying their bills, you know what I'm saying, but I'm asking a question. Is there anything wrong? We're going to start that way. I'm going to angle the question here. Is there anything wrong with Nicky D and the fact that he's got parents paying his financials in that space? I want to hear a good conversation, but please let people land as well, okay? And try not to go over 2 minutes, guys. You know what I mean? I know the monologues are beautiful and they are really good, but we've got time constraints now. So love to hear your perspectives. I'm going to let the people who started off the warfare the other day go on again, because maybe they have rested well and the Lord has spoken to each of them and they're right next to each other as well. So I'm going to let Sean and El Cid go, and then I'm going to get the others to join in this conversation as well. El Cid, I would like you to start. Is there anything wrong with Nicky D? The question is, anything wrong with Nicky D having all his bills paid by his parents? Anything wrong with that? If so, yes. Why? If no, why? You know what I'm saying? Let's start off strong. Talk to me.
Are you letting me start because I started it last time when my tussle with Sean?
Not
Is
at
that
all.
what it
Not
is?
at all. Wouldn't
Okay.
even do that to you, El Cid. You know what I mean?
And even
I
if
just
he
saw
did,
E
I'm
before
ready
the
for it.
S.
Even if he did. So nothing's wrong with it. If Nick and his parents have that arrangement, they're not asking for money. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Now, whether as Nick's fiance, hey, I'll be asking, could you put me on your parents' plan? Because again, what is her level for financial intelligence is my question. But I don't see anything wrong with it at all. We don't know the nature. I need more specifics, because as I said when I was tussling with Sean, and I have not changed my mind, and I have rested on it. My question is, I know people who are living like this. They're grown, got careers, whole doctor, but even though it's still on the parents' plan, they're paying for it. But if his parents aren't paying for it, that's between them. Whatever.
It's a good strong start. Sean, do you have a counter, or do you have a move aside? Are you moving aside, or you got a counter?
No, I totally disagree. And let me
Tell us
preface
why.
it by saying I lived at home until I was almost 30 years old. But I was not getting married at 30 because I was not ready. And when I moved out at 31 and got my own apartment, because I wanted to live in a particular place and I wanted things a particular way, so I waited a little bit longer, and I had the luxury of being able to do that. And when I moved out, I lived on my own. I learned to manage my finances by myself as an independent person. Then I was able to be prepared some years later to be married. So I don't think it's okay for him to do it, but I think that right now he needs to focus on himself and learn to be more financially aware of what bills are and what expenses are and what an investment is, so that he can healthily manage a household together versus relying on Hannah and her experience, however limited or vast it may be. It's more than what he has. So yeah, that's what I think.
El Cid, do you have a counter to what Sean has said?
I appreciate that Sean is, giving us his perspective based on his life experiences. But again, this is Nick's life. Nick's parents don't have a problem with it, so I'm not going to have a problem with it. Now, if you are to be a life mate and life partner, this may be part of the partnership. He may not know how to manage the finances, and it's his life partner, his wife, would be managing the finances. We're not saying Nick has no money. We're not saying Nick is borrowing money left and right like Tyler's doing, but this may be where she is strong, where he is weak. So again, you know, the nature of it that he has to be this or he has to be that, some people's marriages have a different dynamic, and it could be that way for them.
Sean, go for it one more time, and then we'll get some others involved.
Yeah, well, I guess my pushback is just because his parents allow it, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing for him. And as I've seen Nick show up, he shows up very stunted, very immature. And a lot of that, to me, based on what I've seen, is because he's been handheld and almost crippled by his mom and his parents coddling of him. And what I would also say is, yes, this dynamic does play out in many marriages, but what we often hear, and this is anecdotal evidence, but we often hear women's frustration of having to bear the load in their households. And a lot of it is because there are a lot of men who are coddled. So if we don't call that behavior out when we see it and allow it to continue without being checked, then it's going to continue. And I think a man should come to his marriage being able to provide, being able to contribute, and not just sitting back and allowing a woman to do it because she has, or allowing a woman to do it because she's strong. You know, you should be co-managing your relationships and not expecting for your wife to pick up where your mom left off.
Does anybody have a counter to Sean's last point? Or for those who agree, I'll let you have a go. But anyone have a counter to Sean's point? If not, I'm guessing you all agree, and we can continue from there. So everyone's agreeing to that point. I know Seaway definitely agrees. Ain't no way. No one else? Yeah. Okay, so everyone agrees with Sean's point. Okay, so talk to me. Talk to me. Let's get one of the ladies in then. D, what's your thought process to this? Nicky D, not paying bills. He's at home. Doesn't know what his next bill is coming out because his parents pay it. What's your thought process to this? Is it wrong for Nicky D to have this situation set up going into a marriage?
I would say so. I wouldn't embarrass myself on national TV not being prepared. But outside of that, again, it's being a former sugar mama, and having someone who can pay my bills. I feel like there has to be a natural desire to be able to have some things together. And when she's asking him certain questions, he's just like, what is the benefit for me for not paying my own bills? It's just like, the benefit is that you're not a burden. And he should be able to, I think he's emotionally intelligent to be able to do so. I think it's just because he understands the benefit that he gets from having that support that he doesn't want to seek his own. And again, as the former sugar mama, unwanted, um, you understand that in order for me, like, there was a convoluted conversation that I had to have with myself. One, a man deserves respect regardless of what position that he's in. Also, it's important for me to be in a relationship with a man that I respect and I admire, so that I can make sure that I am in that space of integrity with him at all times. And she's already shown me that she does not respect him in a multitude of ways. And I'll say it again. I just don't think that relationship will work. They can make it work, because he's willing to be diminished on a very consistent basis, but and she's willing to be able to talk down to him. But it's just not great for a woman to stay in her femininity versus a man to be able to stay in his masculinity, and knowing for whatever reason that this is important to him to be able to financially provide for her, and that she feels safe in him. So I just think that it's really important. Hopefully that was under 2 minutes.
Appreciate D. Who would like to add in this aspect? Who would like to add here? You know, there's a JR. You got your arms folded. Okay, go for it. Yeah, who opened the mic? Who opened the mic? Someone opened the mic. Who did it?
Oh, that was
Go for
me.
it,
Okay,
Faye.
so I'll say this. I think that initially there's nothing wrong with it. Like, because he's like, what, late 20s, and he was playing football for a while, probably after college, and then was still living with his parents and whatever. I think there's nothing wrong with it in that aspect, but when it comes to trying to get married to someone, that's where I see the issue. Like, you need to be independent by yourself first, is what I believe, before you try to join, and become one with someone else, for multiple reasons. If anything were to happen within that marriage, you should be able to take care of yourself. And if you have a partner and something happens to them, like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna care? He can't cook for himself. Like, he has a lot of, he lacks a lot of things that are necessary to be an independent human being at this stage. And if he wants to continue to be like that, that's fine, but he shouldn't be putting himself in a place to be married, with that level of, not enough responsibility, essentially. I think if the parents want to pay the bills, like, they probably need to think about how long they want to continue to do that. And that's coming from someone who, I picked a career that took a long time for me to be independent, and required a lot of training. And my parents did pay my cell phone bill for a really long time. So, coming from even that perspective, I think his parents probably need to think about how much they want to provide for him, because at this point he's looking for a mom, and he may run into a woman that's willing to parent him, but that's not what a marriage should be.
Go for it.
Okay, so Elson, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ship. I've had some time to think about it. I've consulted with the Lord, and I think Sean is right. I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. Okay, here's the thing. I'm being a hypocrite right now because I'm thinking to myself, I have 2 younger sisters, right? And if they brought someone like Nick to my door and said, hey, Dahlia, what do you think? You think I should marry him? I would say no, for the exact reasons that Sean gave. It would be hypocritical of me to sit up here and say that as he is right now, he's ready for marriage when I don't think he is. And to be honest with you, I think it has less to do with him being able to pay, to him having his bills paid by his parents, but more so his attitude towards it. I'm actually in a position where I can speak to this because I lived with my parents until 2 years ago, and I'm 36 right now. Initially, they covered all of the bills. And then as I grew in my positions and I was able to make more money, I had more financial responsibilities put on me. Some they asked me to do, some I decided to take on myself, right? So he's in a position where he's making enough money that if he wanted to, he could take over those bills. Nobody's stopping him. He could have went to his parents and said, hey, listen, thank you guys so much for everything that you do for me. I want to go ahead and take on some bills. That's what I did. My parents asked me to start covering more of the rent. And then we moved into a house. Hey, we need you to help cover some of the mortgage. No problem. I decided to take on more of the bills myself. Nobody asked me to do that. If we had emergency situations, I stepped in to help with money for that. Nobody asked me to do that. He's a grown man. He can do that. He's choosing not to, number one. The other issue that I have is that even though he lacks these life skills, it doesn't seem like he has much drive to learn. He's fully capable of doing that. I believe that. I feel like he's smart enough that he can pick those skills up. And in other ways, I actually do think that he has good character traits that will make him a good husband. But when it comes to like basic life skills, any financial skills that he needs, he ain't got it. And I don't think he wants to learn. He's not there yet because he don't want to be. He defers to her. That's annoying. If I was Hannah, I would be annoyed too. Would I approach it the way that she does, like a Harridan, and nag him? No, I wouldn't. That don't make a man move. And it certainly don't make him want you. Like he's gonna just go from here to here if he sees you talking like that to him, and then you gonna dry up like the Sahara, and neither one of y'all gonna be satisfied. And then how is Nick's mama gonna get her grandbabies? She's not. Okay, so no one's gonna be happy in this situation. So yeah, he's got some learning to do. I actually think that they would be good together. They don't need to be married. This particular couple would really benefit from just being allowed to date for a little bit while they got time to cook just a little bit more, and then come back together. But right now, to answer your question, no, Kojo, I don't think it's wrong that his parents are paying his bills. I think it's wrong that he's not volunteering to cover more of that. And I think it's wrong that after he gets married, he still wants them to cover that. I'm sorry, sir, but it's leave and cleave. It's leave and cleave. Okay. You a grown man now. You wanted to marry. That means you're an adult. Pay your own freaking bills.
Let's give him bow and weave.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Jiao, you look like you're ready. Oh, sorry. Okay. So I see where it's ready. So go for it.
I was going to say something that hasn't been said. I think as a general principle, I think what Sean said was spot on. I'm not going to regurgitate that. I think as a woman, as a woman and a man, you should have at least what they say, as Wendy used to say, have your own apartment, do your own thing, figure out the food that you like to cook, figure out the way you like to decorate, figure out how you can survive as an individual. I just think those are individual life skills that everyone should have prior to entering a marriage, just as best practice. But what I will say is the fact that to I guess maybe Elsie's point, I'm not sure, if him as he is now, a marriage is really just a contract or an agreement between two people. If this is the person that he is right now and he wants to get married, my biggest problem outside of what Sean said is that you're not finding a person that wants to be your second mother, that wants to show you life, that wants to teach you how to make pasta, that wants to teach you all of these things. You're with a person who is a little toxic, seems very verbally abusive, abrasive, annoyed, frustrated. I don't know if it's Faye or D, lacks respect for who you are. There may be women who don't mind raising kids and Nick, right? That isn't me. That probably isn't most women on this panel. But if he wants that type of situation, I don't think he found the right person. Because I can't say that every single person who got married and maybe even stayed married is the way Sean described. I'm sure there are people who are more like Nick. But the thing is, if you're going to find somebody to marry you, you need to find someone that accepts you where you are, the eggshell plaintiff, as they say in the law. And that is not what he did. And I will say, though, to Sean's point, I know sometimes as parents, and I'm not one, but I know parents, like, we want to do as much as we can for our kids. And I am the resident panelist that is still on my mother's phone bill because I'm not bothering her. And she sees I'm out here taking care of myself and it doesn't make her no, never mind. But I will say, like Dahlia said, to my parents, my dad, slowly but surely, because he saw us being independent, he kicked me off of the insurance and said, see what you need to go get your own insurance because you need to understand this whole situation. I was so mad. I said, it's not bothering you. You mean being on your State Farm? And he was like, no, it's time that you get your own insurance. And I was probably 29, a whole attorney, and just being lazy at that point. The point is that parents have to do that. They have to keep pushing their kids out for their own benefit. And I do think, to a certain degree, if it was just a phone bill here and there, it wouldn't be a problem. But it seems like his parents in many ways are doing him a bit of a disservice with what's going on for him. And so because of that, if they're not going to push him, at least they can recommend that he finds a woman that's going to either push him or take care of him, because Hannah is not it. Hannah is not it. And that's really just, my point. I'm not going to judge the parents' individual choices. And he still is kind of, I think, what is he, 26 or 28? I don't know which one. One of those. He still has time, I think, especially in today's economy. I'm not going to judge where he lives or whatever. But the only situation I don't recommend is trying to get married in this economy, in this situation, to that type of woman who does not have the patience nor respect for your situation. I'm not saying she should. I'm saying she just doesn't. And so that would be my global perspective on this.
Okay. And before you go, Jay said her signal's going to go in a minute. So